let you know when we're live. Connecting to server.
Here we go.
3, 2, 1, and we're live.
Good day, everybody. This week on the show, Blizzard tells us about their plans for WoW in 2015. Blizzard considers bringing game time tokens into the game, and Highmaul has its world first. All of that and more on this week's Geeks of Azeroth.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. My name's Tarly, and with me are the usual suspects. We've got Zool. How are you going? How are you doing, Zool, over in California?
I am doing rather well. Just hanging out over here. Weather can't decide what it wants to do. It goes back and forth from being sunny to being all rainy, and then sunny, and then rainy. Back and forth over and over and over.
Have you done anything special in WoW this week?
I haven't had a whole lot of time for any gaming, really. I've gotten a little bit in, and mainly I've just been focused on getting the eye level of my one single level 100 up. I've been doing some of the dailies and garrison missions, as well as just continuing to work my way through the story quests just to get gold and just to finish those out too. But I'm not even I'm not even at a high enough eye level yet to do the regular level 100 dungeons at this point. Because I hit level 100 so early in the questing, my eye level is just a lot lower than it should be.
What about you, Britza, over in the UK? How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I would like to say it's, weather-wise, it's different. Because being British, we have to talk about the weather. And it's cold and bit miserable, but otherwise no, all's going well, to be honest. In game stuff, it's really just sort of hitting LFRs on my main, which isn't, I have to admit, LFR is nowhere near as painful as it was for Siege, at least in what I've experienced. I'm not saying it's the best experience, but it's certainly not as toxic as I thought it would be. And now Wing 2's opened, I've been trying that, and I've actually started getting drops, which is fantastic. Really, I feel like I'm actually getting somewhere in the game, and hopefully I'll start working on my second 100, or working towards at least my second 100, and then I might, hopefully this time next year, have caught up to you, Charlie. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I myself, I went through looking for raid LFR once this week, and I already don't need anything off the first 2 wings. That's how quickly you can get gear.
Here we go.
So,
here we go. Rubbing it in.
I'm not trying to rub it in. I mean, it just, I had bonus rolls for every boss, so I mean, I thought it cleared up pretty quickly, and I didn't have an actual raid group, so I thought, might as well just spend my bonus rolls here.
It's just so hard to know that every time I go somewhere in the game, you're 2 steps ahead of me.
Yeah, every time either of us is like, I finally did whatever, Charlie's like, I've done that 5 times.
I'll just stop talking about the things. I'm level 2, guys.
Oh, that'd be nice. Can you start at the beginning, but you'll probably still beat us anyway. So
I will
It's
start
true.
a fresh character and work my way up.
how many hundreds have you got now? Charlie?
Three, if I'm
3.
remembering correctly. Okay.
Yeah, remember, he has more than us combined.
Yeah.
My WoW is pulled up behind me. Let's look here real quick.
Have a little peek.
3. Yes, it is. It's 3.
You said that like, oh no, it's only 3. Only 3.
I know.
I'll change.
I was really
that.
hoping for 4. Yeah, I'll get that Shadow Priest up there. So.
Oh.
All right. Well, moving on. There was kind of a good amount of news that came out this week.
Yes.
Did you guys happen to read about that?
Oh, yeah.
It's a change. I mean, I remember a couple of months ago when we were just shoveling the bottom of the barrel out. It was awful. And now there's so much news. It's great.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Blizzard has finally come forward with what they plan to do in 2015 for World of Warcraft. So, I mean, we've got a lot to discuss here. Should we just dive right into it with what's coming in patch 6.1 and beyond? A lot of this stuff is probably beyond 6.1 as well. Just all into the next year, really.
Mhm.
It's probably covering the expansion, I'd imagine, in general, more so than anything else. But I mean, there's so much going on.
Yep.
So much going on.
So, I mean, they just basically have columns of topics, so we're just going to cover each one of those. So we'll just start off with the first one, Feeling Legendary. They hope everybody's been enjoying the Legendary questline with Khadgar and the next steps, which opens up with Blackrock Foundry in the new year. They're already working on the steps after that, and the questline will continue in patch 6.1, where the first ever, wait for it, Legendary Follower will be introduced to the game with suitable legendary abilities. Will be available to join your garrison. If you're a fan of collecting followers but haven't set out on the legendary questline, now is a good time to get started. So, a legendary follower. What could that possibly entail?
I don't know, but I'm excited.
I was going to say, is it, you'd expect someone like Thrall or
I have
Khadgar.
a wild idea here who this could be.
All right.
Illidan.
Oh, could be.
Yeah,
Why?
There's
Why
been
would you
so
say
many
Illidan?
talks that Khadgar is going to have to go and get this world's, this universe's Illidan to help us fight Grommash for some reason. And I don't know, it makes sense if he was the legendary follower. He's quite a legendary character in the storyline. Or maybe Chromie. For some reason, I could see it being Chromie as well.
It makes me wonder, because it's interesting, and actually people are going to choose Illidan because we're in sort of the old version of Outland, as it were. But it also makes me wonder, when they say the first ever, it implies there's going to be more than one. Or at least it leaves the door open, I think, for more than one. Obviously, you can't have loads of them because obviously it doesn't feel legendary. And we kind of fall into the same discussion as the items themselves. But I think, in terms of if we were to have 3 legendary followers available, who would we want as our sort of A team of the Draenor world?
My A team would be Thrall, Khadgar, and Anduin.
Why Anduin?
Yeah.
He can keep people alive. You need a healer.
He could barely keep himself alive. What's going on? He struggles. He struggles alone.
A bell fell on him.
Exactly.
This kid faced Garrosh by himself. I think he's got
And lost.
Can't argue with you, Tom.
Well.
Well, who would your A team be?
Sorry, whose was yours?
For me, I mean, obviously I'm going to need a troll. I'd want Vol'jin. I want a Shadow Hunter and a troll, but he's not even in Draenor, but I'd want him anyways. And then I'd also want what's the main Draenei's name again? The paladin guy?
Murad.
Yeah. Murad, Vol'jin, and
We can't have people who are dead, so.
and Rathian.
Oh, that would be a good legendary follower. I didn't even think about that. What about you, Britza?
I think definitely I'd want Jaina on my team. Who else? I would say I'd like to have old Illidan, really. I know there's a lot of discussions on the old Illidan not being dead. I'd like to think that maybe he's a bit like Rathian and he's probably seen this new Draenor or something. So I'd like to have old Illidan on my team. And who else can I have? I'm going to go out there and I'm going to say Hogger.
Yes.
I don't think the game's complete without Hogger. So
No.
Good point.
True.
there you go.
But Zul, you did bring up an interesting point because I hadn't really thought about Rathian and his role in this expansion yet. But you know he's going to pop up somewhere. I think that
Yep.
would make perfect sense if he was a legendary follower.
And he's actually manipulating you the whole time, of course.
Yeah, of course, yeah. You're his follower.
I'm your follower.
Still, I mean, it's an interesting concept. I mean, we don't really know what a legendary follower is going to bring to your garrison, what they'll be able to do.
Yeah, and it says with suitable legendary abilities.
So they'll probably just be able to do solo any mission by themselves. I'm
You
sure.
never
I'm
know.
wondering if I wonder if they're gonna have like any legendary abilities from that follower that relate to the professions.
Oh, yeah, he can do all professions. He can solo any mission, and he can 1v1 people in PvP if you
And I
set
wonder if it's gonna be different depending on if you're Horde or Alliance, or if it's gonna be the
Oh,
same for both.
very true. Definitely
I think,
interesting to talk about, at least.
yeah, I mean, they're still not planning, sorry. They have said about how they're still working on aspects of the Legendary Quest.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder, like, what are they working on? Well, we know they're probably still tailoring certain aspects of the story and the raiding experience. So my thoughts are that it might be tied into that. So your follower, I'd expect might be someone you have to go into raids with. I don't know how that will work. Do you remember how, like, the sort of the Titan Runestones quest where you had sort of Rathian in the background of your raid and things like that? I don't know if it might be something like that, where they're actually part of the story, but it'd be interesting.
Yeah. Um, I really don't know how they would implement it. Any more ideas on that, Zool?
Um, no, I can't think of anything else. I mean, besides just wanting it.
All right, well, Zool, do you want to cover the next paragraph or topic, or...
Pepe's favorite new feature?
Yes, Pepe's favorite new feature.
Okay, so if you're listening to this, listening to podcasts, you're probably well aware that Twitter is used a ton by the World of Warcraft community, by the WoW team themselves, and by like all the podcasters and podcasts and everything. And so WoW is integrating Twitter into the game a little more. You can send out tweets with screenshots and everything directly from within the game.
I think that deserves an applause. Definitely.
Yeah. Achievements,
social.
all that kind of stuff.
What do you guys think? I think this is a pretty cool feature. Didn't really see that coming.
Yeah, I like it. Because I always think, oh yeah, I'd love to, throw out a screenshot or something that just happened, and I'm like, but that means I'd actually have to go figure out where my screenshot folder is and then upload it, and
This is something that we're seeing in a lot of games more commonly, especially on like PS4 and Xbox One, how they have their quick just share to Twitter, share to Facebook button on the controller. Now it's kind of, there's a button in WoW where you can do the same thing. I think that's pretty cool.
And that's the thing. I think this is sort of one of those last features from the sort of vanilla age where, that sort of interaction, like you said, Saul, if you wanted to, at any point in the game up until now, if you wanted to print screen something and sort of, capture it and put it on the web, you had to basically juggle through the program files and find out where it was and then upload it. And it wasn't a fun experience. It was a chore. And I think one of the things Blizzard's noticing is when its subscriber base, yes, it's gone up, where it's still sort of teetering, however, it may be expected to go down very soon. They need to sort of realize that if people can share their experiences on WoW more easily, then other people can share in that more easily. And that's going to be the best tool in terms of either getting you subscribers, however many that may be, and also keeping the ones they've got. Because if anything, I'm the sort of person where I might be on Twitter on a sort of, an evening or something like that, and then I'll see someone tweet a picture on Facebook, not Facebook, Twitter or something like that from WoW, and you want to play the game straight away. So I think it's going to be a great tool in terms of getting people staying in the game and getting them back into it if they've sort of unsubscribed.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, Britza, do you want to talk us into the next point as well, the Flight Master stuff?
Yes. Well, they're juggling around with flight paths a little bit, so they're going to provide more direct routes to destinations. So regardless of the flight points that your character knows, you'll apparently have some specifically new ones that means you don't have to fly around the sort of whole outskirts of Draenor to get somewhere that's literally couple of minutes walk away. And it means there's going to be fewer roundabout routes, and flight masters will always try to send you on the shortest existing route, which should hopefully get you to where you need to faster. I think, though, an interesting knock-on discussion from this is that there isn't any talk of flying mounts coming into the game anytime soon either. So we're going to be sort of using these flight masters still as we go into sort of the next phase of Warlords.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good change. I mean, Blizzard said themselves in a interview with another podcast um, that they just like how it is, and they're not planning on adding it back in. They're glad it's gone.
Yeah, I mean, they've specifically said it's not coming in 6.1 for sure.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, it hasn't been that bad without it. It really hasn't.
Yeah, I definitely
Makes me wonder, though. Makes me wonder whether they're going to start trying to phase out some of the flight paths from older content in some way. I mean, some of the flying mounts and things like that, because obviously I think like you guys said, it works a lot better. The game is much more fun just having to fly through the established routes without having to, get on a mount and then sort of control your character and everything like that. So it's working.
And if they keep working in some of the different perks for ground mounts that they have in Draenor, like being able to, stay on your mount for combat, or it's harder to get slowed down, or you have a slightly faster speed in different zones and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. If they just keep working that type of stuff in, where there are bonuses to your ground mounts to kind of make up for the fact that you can't fly, I think that's great.
Yep. I don't think they would phase it out of old zones. I mean, I think I would love to see flying in Draenor in 7.0. Because that point,
once the next X-Pack comes out.
Yeah, because at that point, I mean, really, your need to go back to Draenor would be to just go farm stuff anyway. So you might as well.
And just to level alts, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think still for the leveling experience, it should be level 100 flying, at least. Because like in Pandaria, even though you can fly there, you still can't until you're the max level for the content. So.
What about if they introduced flying mounts in? Oh no, I was going to say in certain zones like Ashran, but that doesn't really.
That would
one
make
place
that
you don't want it.
Unfair.
Yeah, it'd just make it awful. No, I guess you can't have it anywhere really.
I mean, we did touch it. We talked about flight quite a bit previous episodes. So, but yeah, I think this is a good change at least. Just making the flight points more accessible. No more.
Just making that transition just a lot quicker. That's the thing. People don't want to be stuck in the air. And we had that like day 2 into launch where people were stuck on their fly mounts outside the flight route. So you just sit there and think, I'm just not enjoying this experience at all. And you don't. It's tied into that experience of using flight paths. You're not really playing the game. You might juggle about on your inventory. You might chat to guildies or something like that. But you're not playing the game. So naturally, they need to make this quicker. I mean, the only way they can make it any quicker is if they had instant teleportation. But they have that with the Ogre Waystones.
Now,
so,
do you think they'd be adding something into the game? I just drew a blank. I completely forgot what I was going to say. So, never mind.
Using telepathic powers, I can't.
Yeah, I lost it.
We'll take the next point then.
I'll take the next point. All about that base. That's right. Blizzard is all about that base. About that base. No treble.
Oh God, what have we done? It was so cheap.
Oh boy, what have we brought ourselves to?
So, garrison improvements, tweaks, and additions are on the horizon. While they're working on some bigger additions for later on, they have a lot of other changes and additions that you'll see on the next PTR. They're working on making visiting your friend's garrison even more rewarding with a daily visitor to set you and your friends on a fun random task. So with different rewards, achievements, and a meta achievement overall for finishing all the tasks. We'll have awesome new items to spend your garrison resources on, new missions to complete with fun new rewards, new items to change your followers with, a new tier of garrison invasion difficulties for the most tenacious of defenders among you. And can your garrison withstand a world boss? Oh my god. A new profession building, missions, and a whole lot more. I am almost out of breath from that paragraph. Quite a bit.
What do you think about that?
Quite a bit coming to garrisons.
I
I'm most intrigued, I think, by the having a friend over garrison quests that they're adding to the game, because there's really no benefit to that at the current time aside from having them help you with invasions.
Hmm.
So, yeah, new stuff to do. That sounds a lot of fun, like a lot of fun.
A world boss? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Quick, friends, help!
What do you think about that, Zul, though? I mean, in terms of the overall sort of garrison experience, it seems they're throwing just more and more in. Like,
Yeah.
do you think we talked in the last show about how garrisons are going to be the main sticking point? It seems to be the case that they are going to make them the main sticking point in terms of content. There's so much going to be happening in that small little area that we call home, I guess. So, I mean, do you feel like on one end, do you feel like we're running out of content with garrisons as it is at the moment? And do you think
I'm
that
not.
you're not
But I'm not like some others here.
going through it for the fifth time or whatever?
Yeah, I'm not really sure where people are at if people are running out of content. I mean, people that are doing a lot of professions are probably using their garrison the most at this point. Because they can get so much more done with being able to make more of the daily cooldown items and all that kind of stuff and make them faster and everything. But otherwise, I'm not sure. The more they want to add to it, the better, I'd say. I mean, this sounds like some really fun stuff we're going to be seeing coming to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the main things is that the garrisons at the moment, for me, the rewards themselves in terms of missions, they're very much tailored to, how can I say, new level hundreds, as it were, in terms of some of the gear you're receiving. You might, most of the stuff I'm seeing is experience for the occasional followers that aren't quite near to cap, and like high level 615 gear and things like that. So I imagine when they say new content or new rewards, sorry, it must be sort of scaling up as our characters scale up, because naturally you're going to want higher eye level. You're not going to want to send your followers on missions where they're not going to get anything out of it, especially gold runs, I think. Well, maybe gold runs might tie into something else we talk about later in the show, but I just feel like there's now a sort of need where people are sort of above the stuff that Blizzard's offering through these missions and things like that. I know it sounds like a little bit of a elitist Tarly thing to say. Now I'm on my but do you know what I mean, in the sense that a lot of the rewards are aimed at new hundreds, and as people go past that, they might feel like garrison missions, things like that, are more of a setback, if anything. So I'd be interested to see what they're bringing out and whether it's aimed at sort of scaling rewards with your character.
I mean, not to be the elitist Tarly, but
that was cruel of me. I apologize.
The majority of my followers are at least 615 eye level at level 100, and I'm just not getting, good enough rewards, I would think, from the missions. It's just more gold or, more experience, which isn't helping my level 100s really. So I'm definitely interested to see what they implement as far as rewards. I hope raid gear would be a cool thing to get, because I heard about that, yet I have not seen any.
Yeah, as the gear rewards.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see some profession sort of regions and things like that coming into it. I haven't noticed that really. In terms of getting hold of those crafting materials, I'd love to see, if they were an option in terms of garrison rewards, I'd be all over that, because I can't get the stuff fast enough without going to the auction house and having to buy it in bulk, it seems. So I'd love to see sort of more profession-based rewards as well.
I'd like to see a mount.
Ooh, that could be interesting.
And it takes 20 followers to accomplish it.
Oh, geez, here we go.
And you have to have the right stats. It would be a raid.
That would be intense.
That would be interesting, though, if you could send out all your followers as a raid group.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
And like you said last week, Zula, how you can find them out in the world. So imagine all of your followers all doing these same quests out in the world, trying to get you a mount. This is for our master. And then if they die, it's permadeath. You have to get new followers.
We die horribly in their service.
All right, Zul, how about you lead us into the next topic?
All right, new ways to play. So, Blizzard is exploring a possibility of something that certain other games have done as well.
Mm-hmm.
A way to buy tradable game time tokens for the purpose of exchanging them in game with other players for gold. So it sounds like it would be something you buy with real money, and then you would get that, and then in game you would be able to trade that item for gold. Is that how it's reading to you guys?
To me, this is a big down with the gold farmers.
Yeah. Because this is a way for people to effectively buy gold. They buy the game time token with their real money and then go in game and sell it for gold.
What do we all think about that?
Tom, you look like you have something on your mind.
Yeah.
I am not sure. I think the important thing, like Zul was saying, the important thing to remember is that this is the introduction of game time tokens. It's not the straightforward introduction of a gold buying service. It's about the game tokens themselves, and they can be used as a way to get hold of gold through to the transactions. I think a lot of people have read into it and thought that simply you can just buy gold like out of an ATM machine or something like that. It's not quite like that, but I I have some doubts about it. So I get. Do we want to talk about the positives of it first? So I feel like I'm just going to put a downer on the whole conversation by ripping into it. I mean, the good things. I'm sure we can agree. The good things is that yes, this is something that games like EVE Online. I'm trying to think of others, but I'm having a mind blank. This is something that has been experienced with to various levels of success. But
Yeah,
I
Steam
think we
is
can all agree.
Eve is probably the main one that
Mhm.
has a similar system.
But do you think though that it it will work in WoW? Do you think it has a scope to work in WoW?
I think it's going to create an interesting economy, almost its own separate economy from the rest of WoW, because you'll have the players who have an excess of real world money that they just don't care about, and they don't have enough time to farm stuff in games, so they'll just buy these coins and then sell them, and then that's how they'll make their gold. And then you'll
Hmm.
have the complete opposite, where you'll have people who don't have a lot of real world money, but they have a lot of gold in WoW, and they want more game time. They'll just be able to buy it
Hmm.
with gold. So um, it'll
It
be an
could,
interesting trade-off there.
yeah, it could potentially help out those particular groups of players quite a bit.
Hmm.
Because, like, there's lots of rare in-game things that cost a lot of gold, namely mounts and pets.
Like the Alliance chopper.
Hmm. And this would be a way for people that work a lot, maybe don't have a lot of time to play. But if they're working a lot, then, you know, making more money as it goes. And they may be able to say, well, you know what? I can just go buy some of these tokens and sell them, and then I can get myself the Alliance chopper. And then for those, like you said, that maybe they're in between jobs, they just lost their job, or they're only able to work part time for whatever reason, but they're able to play more and have that gold, they could help their real world finances by being able to pay for their time with in game gold and save a little bit of money that they could use for more necessary stuff in the real world.
That's it. And I noticed one of the editors on WoW Insider spoke about this, and they said about how, in particular, when they're people are working full-time jobs, 40, 50 hours, and then they look at what it costs in time to get sort of, a rather large selection of gold to get things like the chopper and whatnot. It adds another 20 hours onto your week schedule, which is just improportionate compared to how much money you could make at work in those 20 hours and then spend it like a third of it on WoW anyway to get the same impact. So I think you're right in terms of, an equation, as it were. It definitely works out in people's favour for those who want to spend more time in real life, as it were, or
As
certainly for whatever reason have to spend more time in it.
Now, as far as negativity goes about this idea, like just the cons for it, I mean, it could create an interesting market on the auction house where it,
Yeah.
who knows, like it could be something that gets so popular that it's not being even remotely close to the in-game value of gold for what you're actually paying for it. it could either grow exponentially high, where they're costing hundreds of thousands for one of them, or it could go really low, and people just aren't getting their gold out of what they're spending money on. That,
Yeah.
I could see it going that way. What
I
about
think
you,
one of the
Britza?
things one of the things I'm slightly concerned about, and it's not a major problem, and I'm probably playing a bit more of a devil's advocate than you would expect, but I think if you've got two options of paying for your game subscription in game through gold
Hmm.
or in real life money, I worry that whether how no matter how many people choose to use these tokens and how available they are, because not a lot of people might use them, people might stick to the old system, but I feel concerned that the in-game tokens will be seen as sort of the default or desirable way to pay for your game subscription, which makes the other model, the current model, sound more of like a penalty. And I realise that's looking at it rather negatively, but do you see what I mean in the sense that if you can't make enough gold or you can't spend enough time, you kind of feel like you're getting fined your monthly subscription, because you didn't get to put enough effort into the game. And at the very least, I think you'll be making those comparisons, thinking, oh, if I knew I could spend another 10 hours in game, then it would save me, $15 a month or whatever, or something like that, or whatever it is by then. So I think as long as people aren't drawing too much of a contrast, and it's not. The other thing as well is that it might make people think more about what they're actually paying,
Hmm.
and I think Blizzard's managed well out of dealing with people scrutinizing its monthly subscription model and having that compared to other games where you don't pay.
Yeah.
And I think that if anything, if you're not careful, it might draw more people to say, well, hang on, why am I paying for this game in the first place? When now there's players in game who don't pay money. Why have I got to pay my monthly subscription? I'll just play a different game for free. And this is just taking up too much time. So it's got to be balanced carefully.
Mm.
But
What about you,
we'll see.
Zool? Do you see any cons in this idea here, other than what we've mentioned?
Not beyond what's been mentioned, really. I mean, in case people haven't been able to tell from past discussions, I tend to be like, it'll be all right about most things.
Yeah.
I used to always, like, I don't know, I used to get upset about things and see the negative in a lot of things. Like, the servers would be down, and I'd be like, what the crap, Blizzard? Learn to buy better servers, Like,
Yeah.
I used to be like that, and I
Yeah.
realized, what's the point? And I kind of started trying to see things from all the other point of views.
Yeah.
And like, there's always going to be positives and negatives to things, always. And until we see how it actually plays out, we can't really know. So there's no point in getting really upset right now. Now, if you're voicing legitimate concerns, like Britza just went through and said, these are some concerns, without personally insulting anyone, without getting all upset,
Yeah.
that's how you give criticism, like constructive criticism. And those are things that Blizzard is probably more than aware of and working on.
Hmm.
And if it really just doesn't work out,
They'll take it away from the game.
they can pull it and say, "Sorry, guys, we tried it, we messed up." I mean, they've admitted to messing up about things before.
Yep.
They can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a case where Blizzard is just going to be being Blizzard. And that's where they take an idea that they have seen from other such games, and they do
Mhm.
this all the time, and they implement it into their own system, but they do it a lot better.
Yep.
So, I mean, we see how WildStar's been panning out, and now the player base is down to like 2 people, and but they had the same model, kind of thing going on, where you could earn your in-game time and sell that to other people, or pay for it $15 a month. So a lot of people requested that from Blizzard, so I think that's why it's happening now.
Hmm.
I think the difference, though, just sort of round it on WildStar, was that WildStar was introduced as a new game with that model,
Yeah.
so it had to pick up subscribers whilst having that model in place. I think with WoW, they've clearly got the subscribers, they've clearly got the revenue and the money. They can afford to play about with this, I think. So fingers crossed,
Yeah.
it works.
I'm just briefly laughing over the comment in our chat room.
Is it? It's all kicking off.
I'm not quite sure who that is. I don't know if either of you know.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, thank you. I just got logged out of the game for some reason. There's my character screen. Sorry about that, everybody. We'll go back to what we were originally talking about.
We knew North Korea would kick off during the show. We knew it.
Right. We haven't even mentioned anything about them, and they're already kicking us off. Come on.
That's how it is.
All right. So, who was next to talk? Britza, I think.
Yes.
You're next on esportsin.
No, you skipped
Yeah.
one.
No.
Oh,
Collecting
Heirlooms.
your heirlooms.
Yeah.
yes. Well, this sort of ties into when I was saying about flight paths and sort of making the whole experience just a little bit more streamlined. Heirlooms are coming back. Well, they're not coming back necessarily in the sense that they went away, but they're becoming a lot more accessible. And the way that that's being brought about is they're firstly being integrated into a single account-wide UI. So this now means that whatever character you're on, you'll have access to the heirlooms you have on that account. So if you've got your Garrosh heirlooms on your level, say they're still on your level 100 on one server, you'll now be able to have your character boosted on another server and just pick that up straight away and just go straight into Draenor with it. Heirlooms already on characters, so those you have it, those you've got already, are going to be brought into the UI in a similar way to sort of how toys and other things got handled. And base level heirlooms will be purchasable from vendors, and upgrade tokens that can be used on heirlooms to raise their effectiveness to additional level caps will be obtainable through different forms of content. There's not really a specific on what that content is. And they'll obviously be looking for feedback on sort of that whole integration with heirlooms. So basically, in a nutshell, your heirlooms can now go on any character on your account, and you have access to them pretty much any time you want.
And
which is fantastic.
Yeah, and a few changes even beyond just collecting them like that. Like you said, the upgrade tokens, they've expanded on that a little bit. They haven't said what, but in-game events or quests or whatever the case may be that get you those upgrade tokens. Where it used to be you bought the one that brought you to level 80 or whatever, and then you would have to spend more gold plus that item to get the one that brings you to 85. Now it sounds like it'll be in-game items that you actually earn by doing things. Instead of just spending more gold, you'll actually earn the upgrade tokens. And somewhere they said that you'd be able to upgrade that, like when you first get the heirloom, it brings you to level 80, I think. Or maybe 85. But then the first upgrade token brings it to 90, and the second upgrade token brings it to 100. So you can have heirlooms up to max level.
So
if you get the upgrade tokens for them and everything, which getting it for all of the heirlooms probably take a while.
Just a bit of time. But I mean, that's the thing I've always found is that heirlooms are just such a complicated thing, and they're a complicated feature in that they really help so many aspects of the game. But I just could not be bothered to buy them and then send them to other characters. It was just so much hassle and just so. It just became. Go ahead, sorry.
I've just had the case where I have multiple of the same item because I didn't know which character this one was on and couldn't find it, and then I'd find it later once I'd already purchased another one.
Too many heirlooms, that's your problem.
Yes.
Oh, bless.
I did skip out on most of that conversation because I was spending the whole time trying to figure out how to ban somebody in Twitch chat, and I was unsuccessful. I couldn't figure it out, so just /ignore.
Always works. Always works.
But yeah, I mean, they've been talking about this system for a long time, so I'm not really surprised to see this coming up in 6.1 at all.
Well, that's the thing, and the heirlooms are going to be sort of coming back, I think, in the later content of Warlords. So getting the framework ready so that people can start enjoying the benefits with their alts is definitely key.
Definitely letting them be able to go up to 100 is really cool.
Just bring in a universal account currency. That's what I want. That's what I want. Not for every currency, but if you can collect, Apexis crystals on one character, why can't you share them on others? That's my thought. That's a rant for a different show. Oh, well.
All right. So the next thing Blizzard talked about, is what they're doing with esports. Me being a fan of PvP, I'm really excited about this. They're basically adding the new War Game Skirmishes feature to allow anybody to run in-game tournaments. They're basically going to be setting up a whole new UI for these game skirmishes for observers to start casting their own games and being able to see everybody's health bar, that kind of UI that you actually see at the like the BlizzCon tournaments. You'll be able to control yourself. So they're basically adding that in only for skirmishes. You can't do that for like rated battlegrounds and whatnot, but for your own skirmishes that you're setting up, your war games, you'll be able to have this in-game tournament system, and I'm quite excited about this. I think this will be a real boost to the PvP community. What do you guys think?
Definitely. Gonzo, I've talked a lot so far.
No, just making everything easier to do in game, similar to the Twitter integration. Just adding things in that you can just do from in game, nice and quick and easy. In game UI is gonna allow more people to do it, and hopefully just continue to grow it.
Definitely. What about you, Britza? Is this a feature you're looking at or going to be looking into?
I think putting the community in control of things like this definitely helps. I mean, we've talked about in sort of the Blizzard recaps and things like that about how Blizzard's really keen to get WoW into the esports community, and I think there's still a bit of a question mark over how well it's going to sit amongst its other counterparts, as it were, particularly StarCraft. But I think if the community is in control of running these war games and sort of any content where people can get involved with, I think Blizzard could try and run these things by itself, but it's not going to get the same level of interaction. It's very difficult to centrally control, like getting people into PvP and things like that. Ashran's there, but if you've got players who are, for lack of a better word, creating these tournaments and selling these tournaments to fellow players in the sense that they're getting people involved and engaged, whether they be guildmates or social friends, people who happen to be around at the time, I think that's a better way to get people into PvP and to get them staying in PvP content rather than anything else. So I think it's a great idea, absolutely great idea. And also PvP is the right sort of place to try out this sort of feature. It makes me wonder what other things Blizzard might put the community in control of in terms of running game events and whatnot.
It would be cool if we could observe raids and stuff like that, watch method do stuff, They may implement that once they see how well this gets implemented.
Yeah, that was my thought too, actually, the same thing.
All right, who's next on the topic? I believe it's Zool, or did you go before? I've already lost track of who.
It is me now.
Okay, Zool, you want to talk about you're more beautiful every day, Zool.
Well, thanks.
Oh.
So, yes, the Blood Elf models are coming with 6.1, which we talked a little bit about the preview last week. They look awesome, as the other models have as well. And they said they're continuing to implement tweaks and fixes to the ones that are already out, and those will come in 6.1 as well, though they did not specify what those tweaks and fixes might be.
That is something I'm most intrigued by, because if you have happened to look at the Night Elf male's walking/running animation, it just looks goofy.
As it should. They're night elves. No, actually, I think the night elves are pretty awesome. But
I'm not surprised again to see that the new Blood Elves are coming in 6.1, but it is pretty cool that they're going to be tweaking other things. What else do you think they'd be tweaking besides Night Elf? I think that one's pretty obvious that they're going to be changing that.
There's probably some clipping issues with certain models they'll probably be working on.
Orcs and their shoulder pads.
Yeah, stuff like that for sure. And probably just continuing to clean them up and make them as good as they can be.
Mm-hmm.
The Draenei tentacles. I think that's still something.
Make them actually look like part of their face and not something they attach in the morning.
Yeah.
Just pull them off. They've got,
I forgot my left tentacle today.
They could also, I think we haven't seen sort of the final gear sets as well. Or at least we haven't seen, I think, how they're going to look. So they're probably still playing around with how they're looking. and whatnot as we get to the end content, as it were. So it could be anything. But I mean, the main thing is Blood Elves are actually going to have their character models. We actually finally get a full set.
Yeah. Too bad I'm not Horde anymore to experience it.
Oh, you'll create one to have a look, though. I think
You
that's,
will
everyone would do that.
people.
I'll just, level a fresh 100 over there, so.
Oh, casually throw that.
I've got to 91 warrior, Blood Elf warrior over on the Horde.
Well, I think I might actually make my boost, because I haven't used it yet. I might make mine a Blood Elf, just because I want to see the Horde side of the story, and I thought, well, I've always liked the Blood Elves as a sort of lore race, things like that, and what now's the perfect time, because we're going to look awesome.
I
say
can't
wait.
Class you're thinking of?
I can't say I like the mud huts as well as I like having my own castle, but it's still pretty cool.
I agree there. I may be Horde for life, but I agree there.
All right, Tom, do you want to talk about Ashran so far?
Yes. Well, generally speaking, the post from Blizzard just says that they continue to look into the realm pairing and sort of tech usage that helps to ensure people, well, at least the fights between Alliance and Horde are balanced. And they're trying to reduce queue times in PvP zones, and they're just generally trying to make the whole thing's a little bit more streamlined. And they also say, interestingly, further into the coming year, our focus will be on updating and expanding the content Ashran offers in big new ways, but we'll have more of that as we get close to 6.1. So more content coming into Ashran, which is pretty exciting, to be honest.
I think the big thing there is working on the servers, because if you've noticed,
Yes.
it was supposed to be this big open world game type thing, and you can be sitting in a queue for over an hour just to get in.
I think that's a knock-on effect, though, from launch. I think that this is the back end of stuff they're still trying to fix and tweak. So, thankfully, it should hopefully be, smooth runnings after this.
Well, how much downtime are you guys estimating there's going to be when 6.1 rolls out? I'm guessing at least a day's worth.
2 months.
That would probably spell the end of WoW.
Just the servers are down for 2 months straight. I would agree. But a big thing to also note: when do you guys think we'll see 6.1? You'd be thinking they're gonna push that out pretty quickly.
I'd say January.
January.
Yes. It's got to be before the next Highmaul, the next rating tier. So that's in February.
No,
Yeah.
no. The BlackRock is the same tier.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
You
Yeah,
gotta
so
keep that in mind. It is the same.
But they said that which is the next thing here, Game Ogre, which talks about Highmaul.
Right, yeah. Talk about that a little bit. The final thing they talked about, or one of the final things they talked about, was talking about Highmaul and when they're going to open up BlackRock Foundry. And yes, they've seen some world first kills of Mythic, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And we're seeing people clear through it normal, but a lot of guilds have not been able to clear through it on heroic, and that's what they really want to wait for to release BlackRock Foundry, is when a higher percentage of guilds have completed the raid on heroic. So they have pushed BlackRock Foundry to February when it was supposed to come out the first week of January. I think this is actually a good change, personally, myself not having cleared the raid on heroic.
Why is that, though? Why do you think it's a good change to push back the content? Because the other alternative is that they just leave it there and the heroic people just catch up when they catch up.
Well, I mean, because it's a higher item level stuff, you're going to have this thin group of people that would be significantly ahead of everyone else, and then you'd have that situation where guilds are only recruiting people with, 8 out of 8 BlackRock Foundry, or whatever the amount of bosses is in there, and you'll have people who have still just been trying to progress through Highmaul. So, it's good to have at least the average player base, maybe at least half the player base, have gotten through Highmaul.
But not me. That's the main thing. I won't be in there.
You could do it. You can do it, Tom.
Maybe. I guess.
I believe in you.
Thank you. I'm glad someone does.
Somewhere.
But in terms of getting to that February release, do you think? I mean, Zul in particular. I'd be interested to know whether you think you'll be up to date on Highmaul by February, or is it something you're not looking into at the moment?
I maybe.
Maybe.
I'd like
We'll leave
to
it at
be.
that.
Like I said, I'm trying to get my eye level up so I can start doing all that stuff, and I'm hoping to be able to be there by then. Get some more time in over the coming weeks, but I do have a lot going on.
Yeah. Well, that is the cool thing about normal mode, though. It's very normal and heroic are just very open to letting people kind of jump in when they can, which is cool. And with LFR gear being only 10 item level lower than normal gear, so getting that gear will definitely help you out a lot. And it drops so easily.
And then if you look in the wider scale of things, we talked about how they want people to sort of catch up on the legendary quest, and that implies also they want people to probably be comfortable where they are alt-wise. So you don't want to be sort of sitting around doing nothing. They're saying, perhaps you want to spend this extra time, working on alts, working on those extra legendary quests, so that when this content drops, you're ready just to go in on however 2, 3, 4, 10. I mean, just go at it.
And I myself, I'm not anywhere near done with just this phase of the legendary quest, so I think pushing that to February will also help with that.
Mm-hmm.
How are we all doing on the legendary quest? Just sort of a side topic.
I'd say
I have it.
I'd say I'm about only 45% of the way through collecting the Highmaul relics. So.
Yeah. No, I'm a bit like Zul, to be honest. I picked it up and I've got a few of the things from the heroic dungeons, but that's about it. It just I haven't done a lot else. I think I've got alts who are further down the Pandaria legendary than what I am. That's a nearer legendary than what the current one is. So I might just go get the clothes instead.
You can't anymore.
It's gone.
Oh.
You're like, well.
The best part about this whole release is after all of this news that came out, they add at the end, and we have a ton of awesome content planned for next year, as well as some fun surprises. So there's a lot more that they have not talked about coming in 2015. Obviously, there's going to be another raid in 2015. They would be very stupid to not release a new raid at all next year. So we'll be seeing that. I have a feeling it's going to be Hellscream's Rise. That's just throwing that out there.
Hashtag it.
Hashtag Hellscream's Rise. But yeah, anything else on this big kind of info dump about the next patch?
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Definitely. Well, now that we got that out of the way, we can do the rest of the show.
Which will be like half as long.
Well, we've covered a lot of what we were going to say anyway, so...
Yes. We could talk about... We have a world first of Mythic Imperator Kargath.
Which there's some interesting of how that went on, too.
So, everybody, we should give it up to... not Method... Paragon.
Yeah, not Method is probably the biggest news.
I know. Paragon is back. Paragon hasn't been back since since Cataclysm. Paragon.
Mm-hmm.
So ever since they switched to 10-man for Mists of Pandaria. So now they're back with their 20-man team. But the interesting
thing is when they got Imperator Maragok down, that only got them to 6 of 7.
Right.
Because they had not yet defeated
the Butcher.
Uh-huh.
But it turns out that they were able to go back and kill the Butcher still before Method
got Imperator Maragok down. Yeah.
So they were world first, 6 out of 6. So good job, Method.
7 out of 7.
Back. 7 out of 7. Whatever.
Yeah.
Good job, Method, for coming back.
Yeah, but for like that first day when they got Imperator Maragok down, people were like, "Oh, it doesn't really count. They're only 6 of 7 still." But then they got the 7 of 7 first, and they're like, "Okay, yeah, they got it."
Yep.
But it was kind of interesting.
Dead,
for that day before they actually got all 7, for like that 24 hours, it was kind of like, wait, no, are they really first? Or is Method going to actually do it? Or
you've got to do it in order.
It's very interesting because that boss, you can look up the fight and watch it. It took them 20 minutes to kill him. That was a 20-minute fight on Mythic. It's crazy. That's got to be the longest boss fight so far.
I don't know. Garrosh fights went on for quite a while, didn't they? I think.
I don't. Yeah, they were pretty long, but 20 minutes.
Probably not. No,
Haven't
because I
seen
think the
that since
times
at
were.
least like Sinestra, at least. I think.
20 minutes though, you got to sit there and think. The thing that just amazes me about this is 20 minutes of game time for me is generally a relaxing experience, especially when you're in LFR and you literally haven't got to worry about half the mechanics that these guys have to worry about. But I can only imagine what it's like to spend that 20 minutes fighting a boss, knowing you're literally seconds ahead or seconds behind the next best team for a world first position. I mean, and you're literally just looking at numbers. You're breaking down the strategies and everything, and you can only imagine how complicated and insane it must be just to be in that experience, just to be in that group. I think the stress would probably kill me.
I can only imagine the amount of like 5% wipes they had on that boss, which would just be so devastating.
Yeah.
To be fighting him for 15 minutes and then your whole group wipes. Just.
Do we know if they was it a deliberate skipping of the butcher at the time, or was it they just missed him?
No, it was deliberate. Just because of
Right.
how the fight worked, I guess they wanted to clear their way up. I don't know. Because it's really that Imperator is a mechanics check, whereas Butcher is a DPS check. So ultimately, I think they were able to get Imperator down easier than they were able to get the Butcher down.
Says a lot. But what do you guys think in terms of, we've said about how Method didn't claim it this time. There will be another, other races ahead. Do you think Paragon's going to sort of keep this go? I mean, I know it's impossible to say. We've talked about this before and said who's going to get world first, and we didn't really know. But I mean, do you think that it's going to be? I guess what I'm trying to say is, can Paragon hold it? I mean, when you're sitting there saying they managed to just get their seventh boss in, sort of literally on the last moment, it makes me wonder that this is still a free-for-all game. No team clearly has sort of this new mythic structure down to a T just yet.
Yeah, it's really hard to say. And BlackRock's where it's really that's gonna be the race right there. I think that raid's going to be significantly more difficult than Highmaul in the first place. So I think it'll be an interesting raid leading up to that.
I agree. Yes.
Should we put our bets on the next one?
I bet Method again. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Method. Method's gonna catch up.
Zul?
I don't know. I'm gonna
Come
go.
on.
I think Paragon's gonna pull out again.
You think they're
He's
going to
gonna
do
pull
it?
Pull
ahead.
ahead is the better word to use there.
Yeah, maybe.
I'd like to vote for an underdog. Who were the other teams that were in this?
Midwinter.
Just
Just
say
go with
Midwinter.
Midwinter.
Yeah, I
I
almost
would-
did. I was like, let's go for an American team.
Well, then I guess the Brit better go for an American team.
There you
So go on then. I'll say Midwinter. I don't know why I'm saying it. I'm saying it because it's the odd one out now. But no, I'll put more money on it.
Just to answer the question in chat and Twitch from Provitz, Blood Legion is way gone. They're not gone. They're like 4th or 5th, I think. But anyway, what did they do after clearing Mythic for the first time? Well, again, one of the reasons the Butcher was so difficult for them was they did not all have full Mythic gear, and that's definitely a gear check fight. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to have it on farm now, make sure they have plenty of gear for when they all step into Blackrock Foundry.
Yeah, because they're gonna want everyone to be at like the highest eye level possible, so that when they step in, they hit the ground running.
Yeah, if all of your raid members are not like pretty much full Mythic gear when that raid comes out, you're gonna be considered behind. So
I would question that. I'm not saying I disagree, but I would say I think with Mythic raiding, the unique thing is this is a special type of structure that is based on mechanics as much as anything else. Mechanics more than anything else, I'd say, because they know that the class compositions are going to be there. So I would say if you can get your class mechanics balanced and working as efficiently as possible, you might be able to counter a lacking gear. But that's a huge pressure. You're going to have to have in your team people who know the characters better than the other world first competitors, and that's the only thing that's going to, and that might cover you. So it's possible you could go on slightly undergeared, but you're not going to, like you say, you don't want the cards stacked against you. Of course you don't. When the battle can be decided in about 30 seconds or less. I'm trying to think what the smallest margin of a win was in a world first, probably seconds.
Yeah. Province is just recommending that we watch a movie called Race to the World First. I have never seen that, but apparently about World First Raiders. That should be something we check out. That'll be our homework while we're gone for the next 2 weeks. Just keep in mind, listeners and viewers, we will be gone until after the new year.
Yes, this is our final show of 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're preparing for World First ourselves.
Yes,
because obviously just the three of us alone.
Yes, the three of us are going to be conquering
multi-box.
Yes, we are going to get World First.
One of us will multi-box all the DPS. One of us will multi-box the healers, and one of us will multi-box the tanks.
All right.
No, we said last week you don't need DPS. It's tanks and healers.
Oh yeah,
it's
tanks and healers only. Druids. Then you can't die.
Just
so
a full team
of
druids. Come on, we can do that.
Exactly. Or 20 paladins. Let's go 20 paladins, all with aggro. It'd be great.
All right. So, Highmaul, right? We've already talked about Highmaul on Raid Finder. So have you, Britza or Zul, have you guys happened to hop into Wing 2?
I'm not even high enough eye level to get into level 100 dungeons yet, so...
Oh.
No.
As you can see, we have total confidence that Zul will be leading our World First initiative.
Yes!
God. I've managed to see Wing 2 today. Naturally, sort of real life stuff's taken up this week, getting ready for sort of the festive season, but I managed to jump in today, and Again, LFR is an interesting experience because, like we've said, there's not really as many mechanics being played out. It's very much sort of, as a DPS mage, you very much, as always, sit there and just kind of push your buttons and stuff happens. And it was relatively straightforward. I like the content. Whether it was just me, I don't feel like as much of a story was being told in Wing 2 as in Wing 1. I mean, when you start Wing 1 and you've got Black Hands there, and it's all sort of kicking off, and you can see all these sort of cinematics and whatnot. Wing 2 didn't have that, or unless I missed it, which I find hard to believe. But it just I think narratively it's sort of bridging between Wing 3. So it might just be me. I haven't seen the final sort of Wing, as it were, but no, I've really enjoyed it.
I do think too many cinematics would kind of boggle down the raid a bit. Would slow down the pacing. I think having one at the beginning like they did kind of worked out pretty well. I think any more would, kind of bog it down, feel like a dungeon too much when people, especially World First, are like, I don't want to see the cinematics, skip it, let's go.
Yeah.
I guess that's a good point. And where people do skip the cinematics, you kind of, they run off, and then the people who are watching the cinematic for the first time watch it all, come back, and people are getting ready to start on the next boss. So I can see why they're like a speed bump.
Yeah, I mean, when we first killed Kargath, and then that cinematic came out with Cho'Gall and stuff, we all were like, all right, shh, we're watching it. And we watched it that first time, we were all so excited, but then the next time we're like, oh, skip it, let's go.
Done!
I think, though, the problem is I just don't feel like the story's being communicated to me as well as it could be. We talked months ago about how it would be great if raids and dungeons could have their own self-contained narrative that gets explained as you go along. And I feel like Wing 2, I think I've missed the story, and that's probably my fault. I'll admit, I'm not reading the text and things like that, but I just felt like as you're going through, it's not really having, even just the characters are shouting stuff at each other. It's not really explaining it as it goes along. You just see boss, you go, right, let's kill that. So I don't know if you guys found that.
I guess I kind of disagree with you on that point. Just mainly, Highmaul got really set up through the Nagrand storyline. So then you go there and you kind of have a feeling what you're doing there. You're there for Imperator Margok. So everything else is kind of just an obstacle in between, and the whole Kargath deal, there was a good amount of cinematic behind it because he's one of the major story characters. But then everyone else is more of just an obstacle to you getting to your objective. So, and there is more dialogue and more like a cutscene type thing when you get to Imperator as well.
Fair enough. Naturally, didn't touch Nagrand much, so it's my fault.
Yeah. Zool, anything to touch on?
Nothing that hasn't already been said.
Yeah. I do, again, just like LFR, the state of it right now. You kind of just go in there and either one or two attempts, and you're gonna get quite a bit of gear. I haven't wiped once in LFR since I've started it.
What's wrong with that? You sound like you're complaining that people are getting through it.
Oh no, I'm absolutely not. I really like the state of it right now.
Oh, fair enough.
Why do I keep getting signed out? Maybe it's because I'm away.
Blizzard's reacting violently.
Stop talking about our game.
But I guess we can sort of, again, I don't want to feel like we're excluding Zool, but in terms of talking about how
No, it's
Highmaul's
fine.
going, we're talking about how Highmaul's going at the moment in terms of a raid. Like let's compare it to, Mogushan for Pandaria. Do we think, the content, the level of content has it gone up? What I'm trying to say is compared to Pandaria's start.
I would say excluding LFR because you don't really get the same feeling, but through normal and heroics, I'd say absolutely yes. I love this raid structure because it feels a lot more like Ulduar. You can go, we'll go this way this week, or we're gonna go this way, or you've got so many different options with the optional bosses. So I definitely love the layout, and the boss fights are really interesting. Different mechanics that you haven't seen before, class-specific mechanics. I've seen stuff in like heroic that we're just like, oh, this class can do this really well, so we want one of them every time. So. I quite like Highmaul.
Fantastic. Well, we better move on then.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, going on. Winter Veil has started. I tried to get a Christmas tree for my backdrop on the show, and I can't find one. Why Alliance members? Why are you letting the Horde put up a Christmas tree, but we can't manage to do that?
Should have checked Ironforge.
Oh, I should have.
Huh?
So, Zool, since you kind of didn't have too much in that conversation, do you want to talk about Winter Veil?
Sure. It's back.
Breaking news.
There's a applause right there. Winter Veil is back.
There's been a few updates to it for this year. They updated the which is it? The Epic Dagger, right?
Yes.
Yes,
the dagger.
The
Yes.
Christmas tree dagger is updated to, what was the eye level they
640.
updated it to? I'm trying to find it now.
I believe it's 640, if I remember correctly.
Okay, yeah. So that's actually relevant.
Nobody
It's
else gets
actually
a weapon,
useful.
just the dagger.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're a rogue, congratulations. You can stab people with a Christmas tree because that's festive.
I would just want that for transmog, if anything.
Yeah, I think it looks really cool. I'm like, that's pretty awesome. Too bad I don't have a rogue at that level. What else do they upgrade? I'm trying to find it here on their site, and I'm not seeing it easily spelled out.
I think the quests are very much the same, aren't they? They haven't changed at all. It's still...
Yeah, they've just updated some of the like companions you can get and the items like the dagger and stuff. Everything else is pretty much the same.
I do have to say, Winter Veil is one of my favorite holidays that come around WoW, just because of all the Christmas decorations and stuff all over the place. It just kind of fits in with the season and feels festive.
Yeah, and I mean, for a while now, I've been pretty consistently subscribed to WoW. But back when I used to like jump in and out all the time instead of just staying subscribed, for whatever reason, December tended to be a time I came back, and so it was always, oh yeah, Christmas stuff is up in WoW. Like it's kind of nostalgic.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's just it. Sorry.
I just got really distracted, but I noticed the green parts of my tattoo are getting keyed out, so it looks like there's holes in my arm. Okay. Go.
Oh, why?
Go on.
This is
Rissa.
horrible.
I was just going to say, I feel exactly the same way as Zor. A lot of my best nostalgic experiences in WoW were sort of around this sort of time of year. And so when I sort of see those, like you say, that those appearances, those festive decorations and these festive theme missions and whatnot, I just feel sort of really brought back. Mm-hmm. But I guess an interesting question. You said, Charlie, that it's your favourite festive season. Zor, what's your favourite festive season? Or rather, I say it's both of you. What are your favourite, seasons? I'm trying to think of the right word.
Real life or WoW life?
WoW life.
Okay.
What's your favourite in terms of like Wintervale, Hallow's End, that sort of thing?
I would say for me it would be Hallow's End for the exact reason Zool was talking about. When I first started playing and was intermittently playing, I was always playing around Hallow's End when every time I would make a new character, I would hear the Headless Horseman shouting off in the distance. I was wondering if that was a normal part of the game or what, but so I get nostalgic when I do Hallow's End.
Zul?
Mine is probably Wintervale for why I said it and why Tarly likes Hallow's End.
I'm just a big fan of Pilgrims because I love turkey. That's about it. No, I just, the reason I asked the question is because I find it difficult to sort of sum up which one I prefer, if any. I love Winterfell because of what I've said, but Hallow's End is just, I think there's so much more going on in it, and I think for some reason Hallow's End just seems there's a lot more going on in the background. People are rushing in to get content and whatnot. I think this time of year people are more distracted from WoW than any other time, so perhaps I feel like there's not many people to get into the content with, but. No, I find it hard. One of the two. Wintersvale or Hallow's End is definitely great. But another question, just to throw up. I mean, how's this sort of going to affect? I guess what I'm trying to say is, how is our sort of gaming time going to be affected over the season break? Do we all feel we're going to have enough time in WoW, or are we all sort of distracted away from things and whatnot?
Personally, this is the season where I will not be playing WoW very much. I love the holiday season, but once it's over, I will be back in WoW more.
You heard it, so we've got a small window to get our hundreds.
Well, most of next week, I'm gonna be back up at my parents', and since I have a desktop gaming PC, not a laptop, that means I won't be gaming at all while I'm gone. So, I mean, it's only part of 1 week, but that's the part of when my work is closed and I'm not working. So the time when I would be not working and have more time to play, I'll be out of town and unable to play. And then I'll come back and I'll be working again.
What about you, Britza?
I think I'm going to take a holiday very much as a holiday. I will probably try to dip in, but this is the thing. I can't get into the game as much as I'd probably like to, mainly because, we're all spending time with families and friends and things like that at this time of year. Mm-hmm. And it's very difficult to sort of sit down for any meaningful period of time, I think, especially, considering things like Ashran queues are still quite lengthy. You haven't really got time to sit around queuing for 2 hours and then get into them. But no, I think, I should be able to get into the game a little bit, but it's tough. That's the thing. It's really sort of tough to sort of pull yourself away and get into the game, because the thing is, I realise people's friends in their guilds and generally the people they've met through WoW, this is probably a key moment for them to spend time with them. So I just wondered, what's it like for gamers who very much have their friendship groups split down the middle or very much weighed towards WoW? How do they handle the holiday periods in terms of interacting with their friends?
It just reminds me of back when I was in high school and was playing World of Warcraft, because, around this time, high school, I didn't have a real job.
Right,
so
yeah.
I'd have this whole week where I was just playing World of Warcraft with my friends. Yeah, sure, it was Christmas, whatever. I could have a week to play World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
So that not so much anymore, but.
Yeah, and when I do have some time, something I didn't mention earlier, I got into the Heroes of the Storm Tech Alpha.
That deserves a big one right there. Big applause.
About lost it when I got that email.
I about lost it when you told me you got that email.
So when I do have some time, it'll be also split between that, because I've had a little bit of time to play. I got through all the tutorial stuff, and I did some co-op games where the opposing team is just AI controlled, but your team is other people. So I did a little bit of that. But so my time will be split with that as well when I have some time to do gaming over the break.
All right. So...
I'm literally looking at Assassin's Creed Unity now, so I can't promise anything.
Oh, don't do it unless they fix it. Unless they fix the game, but
Didn't they just have like a 40 gig patch?
Yeah,
maybe.
it's fixed.
It was a patch that's bigger than most games.
Well, that's because it wasn't really a game when it was released.
Yeah, no faces. You have to be willing and able, have the autonomy from your publishing company to push back release dates sometimes.
That is a discussion for another show, because I could probably
Yes.
talk for hours about that.
Agreed.
Well, it linked to WoW. You know, WoW didn't have the easiest. You know, I
Yeah,
mean, Warlords didn't have the easiest.
Yeah, it did not have the best launch. Which I plan on being red shirt guy at next BlizzCon and going up and be like, so do you guys have better systems implemented for the next launch of World of Warcraft expansion?
Oh, what's the worst question we could ask at BlizzCon next year?
Where did Titan go?
Where's the dance studio?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so where's the dance studio? All right.
Path of the Titans.
All right.
you've ruined my class. Give it back. Bring back old talent.
Where's my manager?
I guess to bring it onto our discussion topic, and albeit a brief one, what do we think are the biggest challenges that WoW faces in 2015? We've talked about all the things that are coming into the game, but in terms of what do you think WoW needs to be careful of for the next 12 months?
Content gaps.
Yes.
That is, I think, the biggest challenge Blizzard faces moving forward is how long are they willing to let the game sit without any new content being released?
Because now that we're in the new expansion, if you look back at how Mists went, you know, the general consensus was it was almost maybe too fast on the patches, and then a huge wait from the last patch to the next expansion.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing going through this year is making sure the content patches are spaced out at a decent interval so they're not too fast, but it's also a nice, consistent pace.
And at this rate, Blizzard has said that they still don't even know if WoD is a 2 or 3 tiered expansion. So that's still.
I'm guessing internally by this point they probably have a pretty solid idea, but they just not perfect enough, like 100% to announce it yet.
I think I would guess they would go the Sunwell route, where they would, they have the whole Garrosh raid already planned and it's good to go. And if it looks like, all right, we're going to need more time for the next expansion, here's this raid that we already have kind of planned, but weren't sure if we were going to release it or not.
I thought you were going to say let's just have a Ruby Sanctum raid right in the middle. I was sitting there going, best idea ever.
No
Let's
more
just
Ruby.
redo Ruby.
Ruby 2.
Give it the molten core treatment. No, I think one of the big things it's got to watch out for is, and this is going to sound like a weird one to suggest, it's not something in games, it's to do with how Blizzard is marketing its products at the moment. And I feel there has been a lot of hype about all its different products, but in terms of WoW, I think they've got to be careful about all this tease culture. And I think like the big announcement they dropped for 6.1, all valid, and it's fair enough. But I think if they're pointing at their content and going, the best is still to come, I just want them to have a bit more oomph in what they've got at the moment, and not to constantly be pointing over the hill and saying you're not going to believe what's waiting over there for you.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to see it. I want to be in it, and I want them to go, listen, this is amazing. There is some more cool stuff we will share with you, but let's just enjoy this.
Yeah.
It's very small. It's a weird thing for me to say we should get concerned about, but they've got so many games at the moment that are going to be coming out in 2015.
Right.
So much.
Overwatch, Heroes of the Storm will go open beta. It's going to be crazy, crazy year for Blizzard.
Exactly. Hearthstone will probably be on its second DLC and expansion.
I bet we'll be seeing Hearthstone on phones probably next year.
Exactly.
They said they're working on it, so.
What about subscribers, guys? I guess what do we think subscribers are going to do for the next 12 months?
It's really hard to say. I think that will depend on the content gaps, really.
And how much people enjoy the content and how good they say it is.
I mean, I said this before, and then it definitely exceeded my expectations, but I don't see it rising too much higher than what it is right now. It'd be nice if they could keep it the same, though. I don't see it dipping below like 9 or 8 for a while.
Yeah.
I think they can at least hold 8 million subscribers, consistently if they keep releasing content. If they keep it over 10, that's brilliant.
Yeah. I'd probably agree with that.
And I guess one big question is, do you think we'll see, maybe not a release, but the announcement and explanation of the next expansion by the end of 2015?
BlizzCon. If it's not announced
Yeah.
at BlizzCon, that would just be bad on their part. I wouldn't
It's
be
not happening.
surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear about it before BlizzCon. Because, we heard about Hearthstone at Gamescom. I know BlizzCon is their
Yeah.
thing. They make all big announcements at BlizzCon, but if it's coming as soon as it's been rumored to be coming, I would expect to hear about it sooner than BlizzCon, or have BlizzCon earlier in the year than November.
Well,
Ooh,
it
that would
ties
be an
into
interesting possibility.
it ties into what you both said about content gaps, very much so. If you think about how the content is being scheduled at the moment, I would say certainly November, you're looking at us to be, I imagine, in sort of the final tier in whatever
yeah.
state. So we're either going to be heading towards the very end of it, or we're going to be in that waiting period. So they're going to have to throw something to us.
I'm sticking with the timeline I've had in my mind for a while. Like, by BlizzCon, we'll be in the final tier. We'll get an announcement of the expansion, if we haven't already, and we'll get an immediate beta after BlizzCon. We're setting up for the launch of the expansion right around, like, maybe February or March of 2016, right around the launch of the movie. Just perfect timing.
There you go, Blizzard. Write that down. Done it. 2015 release schedule.
Yep. As well as getting Overwatch just released in 1 year. Kind of unlike they've done with Heroes of the Storm. Just pump that game out. Awesome.
It's going to be a good year, I think, for Blizzard in general. It's going to be absolutely huge. Probably a make or break year, I would argue, in many cases. But
Blizzard can't break.
yeah. No, they're amazing. They are amazing at what they do. So fingers crossed. And obviously we'll all be in, hitting WoW 2015. We'll be hitting WoW in 2090. It's going to keep going forever.
Yep. All right, so the Prince's Gaze, where we look at the community. Just a little note, this is the last show of 2014. We already mentioned that previously. But should we recap the fact that we have been doing this show for 6 months at this point? It's our 6 months anniversary, guys!
I knew you were going to say that again. I knew. Tarly said that before the show, people at home. We had this long discussion about how we're going to do Valentine's Day as well.
Yes, Valentine's Day is on a Saturday, guys, so prepare for that episode. It's going to be...
The Valentine's Day episode.
We're all sitting in restaurants. But...
Oh my god.
So I guess what do you guys like? What have you enjoyed most about the last 6 months in terms? And it doesn't have to be just about this show, but in terms of sort of WoW and the community and just general WoW life, I guess.
WoW life is WoW life. I love doing this show because it gives me an outlet to say all the things that none of my other friends care about.
Yeah. I don't really have many real life friends that still play WoW.
Yeah.
And those that do are friends that I don't talk to all that often anymore. They're friends from when I lived out in Indiana and stuff. And so every now and then I shoot them a message or a text or something, but they're not people I see every day anymore. So I don't really, my friends from WoW are online and like you guys and stuff. And as I've said before, I'm a horrible game jumper. I'm always bouncing around between different things, never finishing anything. And this has kept me subscribed to and playing WoW, which it sounds weird that it's the only thing keeping you doing it, but I'm thoroughly enjoying sticking with the game. And I'm having a blast.
I would say, the last 6 months have been real fun. In terms of sort of my WoW experience prior to getting involved with this, I have friends who, a bit like how you said, Saul, people who I know in real life who used to play WoW but don't play it anymore because they're doing different things with their lives and whatnot. So very much sort of 2014 and before that was sort of I was the only person I really sort of knew who was playing WoW. So it's been great to sort of get in touch and sort of I think the show's really helped sort of jump into the community for our own benefit as well and to sort of share our thoughts for better for you guys, for worse in my case, generally what I'm thinking about. But it's just great to sort of be part of this community. And I realise that's a very sort of, it seems everyone in the WoW community says that, but I mean in the sense that it's great to sort of offer out what we think each week and people actually want to listen to it and share and enjoy it. And that means a lot, I think. So it's been an absolutely incredible experience just because people clearly listen to what I have to think and don't hate it. And that's what I feel really good about.
Yeah. And just another thing again, like going to BlizzCon for a second year in a row, more like solidified that I'm a part of this community and that it's a great community to be a part of. And I think BlizzCon is just officially a yearly tradition for me now.
We're going to try and do that this coming year if possible.
Yes.
We'll try and be at BlizzCon.
Really
I'm
hope to see you
trying
guys
to
next
make
year.
sure, like already, I'm trying to plan and make sure I have some money set aside so that when the tickets go up, I don't have to worry about it. I can be like, okay, I already have the money. Let's just hope I can get one.
Yeah, just preparing for those ticket launches in March or April usually is when that is.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, the three of us are going to the charity ball, aren't we?
Yeah, the $700 tickets.
I'll be
right?
going if
I thought
that's
that's what
my
we
only
agreed.
if that's my only option. If I miss out on the first two ticket sales, and
Just
I'll
bid
be
might
on
have
everything
to-
as well.
I might have to do something a little different with my dance degree to
It's-
get that money.
It's
but
why I had. Oh my god.
Jesus.
That,
On that is that how we're going to leave the
I
show
just
for
shut down the
2014?
podcast.
should we just end the show?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Well, that's
Listen,
the
it-
consistent joke amongst most of us dance majors. Like, what do we do with it now? Well,
whatever gets money for those good causes. So whatever gets good money.
All right. Well, on that note, do we have any shout-outs this week?
actually, I have one really quick. One of our consistent listeners, I think we've given a shout out to him before, but he just tweeted at us like a few minutes ago. Meerkat, I don't know. But he just sent us out a little tweet saying, he's listening to the podcast right now live on
Awesome.
his tablet, and he's horrible at typing on the tablet, which is why he hasn't posted in our live chat. But he is listening, and he's one of our consistent listeners, and we always appreciate when people let us know and say nice things to us.
Indeed. Well, thank you. Meerkats, you said his name was? For some
Yeah,
reason, it's not showing up on the Twitter wall. At least for
Oh
me.
yeah, Meerkat X. Yeah, he just tweeted out to us to the Epic Geeks.
Ah,
And
Yeah.
if he is looking to join the next World First team, we are now opening applications
absolutely.
because
Because we will do it.
we will do it, and we need to get rid of a few bots before we start. So if you can heal, then that'd be ideal. But yeah, no, I guess I just Tali, sorry, you go first because I tend to steal shout outs.
I don't have any this week. So go
Fair
on.
enough. Well, I guess just to throw it out there, I mean, we've got people in the Twitch channel and people tweeting us. So big thanks to you guys for obviously getting involved. I mean, the big thing, without making it sound too gushy, it's been great sort of having people listen and get involved, and listeners are always going up. So we're really pleased that this thing's growing and sort of really making an impact in the community. So I guess thanks for listening for the last 6 months. And just getting involved, and we've got plans not only just for Geeks of Azeroth but also Epic Geeks in general.
Yeah.
I realise it's been a bit quiet on that front. It is still going. It's just because real life stuff has caught up with everybody. So going into 2015, we've got some really new fun ideas. But thanks really to everyone sort of just being part of this. It's been absolutely fantastic having you all along for the ride.
Absolutely, yes. Just thank you everybody who contributes to our live chat. Even the guy who was angry at us for some reason, we definitely
Yeah,
Whatever. Thank you. Anyway.
Some people just need to vent, and if that made his day better,
Yeah.
good.
We will be your venting target. Whatever.
There is a number on the CTR show that you can call, so that will help.
1-800 calm the F down. So
But it just means we've got a very passionate listener base. That's nothing to be ashamed of.
So guys, is it time for that time of day where I kick on the Christmas music and we say our farewells? Is it time?
Let's do it.
So.
Let's do it. All right, here we go. Welcome to that time again where we say goodbye and a happy holidays to everybody who has tuned in for the show. Thank you very much for listening. Our show is available on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and Twitch. You can catch us on Twitter at Geeks of Azeroth. You can catch me personally on Twitter at Tarly_pause. Zool, where might we find you?
Nowhere. No. I am at Zoolgeek on Twitter. Shoot me a message, whatever. I will reply because not many people shoot me messages.
And what about you?
That's aimed at me, sir. I realise I don't tweet you enough. But no, I'm at Britzer_EG. And likewise, feel free to drop a message and whatnot. And just get in contact with us. We're nice people. We don't.
We
are
try
about.
to be nice anyway.
We try to be.
Also, you can email us at epicgeeks, or at epicgeeks. No, what is our email?
Geeks of Azeroth.
eg@gmail.com. I know
That's
things.
it.
And you can check us out at epicgeeks.co.uk. That is our website for all of our gaming stuff. Many shows, podcasts, let's plays. So check us out there. In other words, have a great holiday season in Draenor. We'll see you next time.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
And that's it.